We'll deliver a full recap of today's game, including highlights from the biggest moments. Listen to Craig Stammen's post-game comments. Plus, we'll bring you today's play of the game. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
Padres fall by a final score of 12-7 on this Sunday in Mexico City as we welcome you into our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show here on the Padres Radio Network. The Diamondbacks score 12 runs on 15 hits. Padres get 7 runs on 11 hits. The Diamondbacks scoring 11 unanswered runs in this game as they get 1 in the 5th inning, 1 in the 6th inning, 6 in the 7th inning, 4 in the 8th inning, and they come back to win this game 12-7. We will get into all of it on this Sunday afternoon as we begin our post-game coverage. We'll go back to Mexico City, hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. We have all the radio highlights for you. We'll recap this game from start to finish. We'll look at the out-of-town scoreboard and much, much more as always. Hey, player, need a little me time? Jamul Spa was just named one of the top 100 spas in America, Jamul Casino Resort, the Players' Place. Well, certainly this has been an anomaly for the Padres, and that is having a lead and being unable to hold on. And I thought Jesse and Tony made the point during the post-game wrap-up there. We just haven't seen the Padres really lose a game like this, where things got a little bit sloppy towards the end. And quite frankly, they were up 7-1 at one point in this game. Michael King was cruising. He was really good today. 6 innings, 2 runs given up. And even at the altitude in Mexico City, I think you felt pretty good about where they were. It wasn't like this series, at least to that point, Padres leading 7-1, 7-2 in the 5th inning, in the 6th inning. It didn't feel like the series was playing out in this wild way, right? Where balls were just flying over the fence. Yeah, the Padres had 3 home runs earlier in the game. They had a couple yesterday, but it didn't feel out of control. I'm not sure how much the elements, the altitude in Mexico City had to do with the Diamondbacks coming back in this game. Now, I could argue the Tawa grand slam to make it 7-6. That might have been a little altitude aided, but when you zoom out and you look at what transpired in the 7th inning, the 8th inning for the Diamondbacks, there were a number of things you could point to that went wrong for the Padres, and it was a little bit of role reversal as well. We've talked so much about the Padres being so good at scoring late. We talked a lot about it pregame today. Well, the Diamondbacks today gave the Padres a little taste of their own medicine. It was the other way today with the Diamondbacks rallying late. So let's begin the analysis in the 7th inning. And you talk about some mistakes, and the Padres have not made many in this early part of the season as they fall to 18-9 on the year. Still a very, very good start, despite splitting this series in Mexico City with Arizona. But Fernando Tatis Jr., in the top of the 7th inning, again, it didn't seem like a huge deal at the time, but the Padres at that point leading 7-2. They had 2 on, nobody out. Fernando gets picked off, and the Padres ultimately don't end up scoring in that 7th inning. And then you look at what happened in the bottom half of the 7th inning, the 2 singles by Fernandez and Arenado to begin the inning. Then you had that play with Jake Cronenworth and Xander Bogaerts where the ball was hit to the right of second, and Xander did go well on to the second base side of the bag to go get it, but he clearly had more of the momentum to go get the ball and at least make a play to first base. Jake kind of crossed in front of him, bumped him, and Jake's the one who got the ball. And essentially, Jake tried to make the play at second base, and they got nobody. And instead, it was the bases loaded with nobody out. And then moments later, Tawa hits the grand slam, and all of a sudden, it went from a 7-2 game to a 7-6 game. And it was, You look at Bradley Rodriguez in that 7th inning. There are a couple of things you can point to. There were 2 outs in that inning. Yes, Vargas is on second base, but he gets ahead of Corbin Carroll, 0-2, ends up walking him. And then moments later, Gurriel hits the 2-run double to put the Diamondbacks ahead. So you can slice it up a lot of different ways. Some base running errors, the play with Cronenworth and Bogaerts up the middle. You feel like they should have got at least one out on that play. Bradley Rodriguez getting ahead and then walking Corbin Carroll. And then you just have to tip your cap on some of this. The Diamondbacks came up with big hits, whether it was the Tawa grand slam or the 2-run double by Gurriel. They then end up getting the 3-run triple by Vargas in the 8th inning that really put the game out of reach. It was just a rare day where the Padres late, instead of playing their best baseball late, they played some subpar baseball late, whether you want to talk about the base running or the defense or the pitching, and there were guys in this bullpen that struggled today. David Morgan giving up the grand slam. Bradley Rodriguez, he's been really, really good, but I thought today you saw a little bit of youth, right? Falling, again, I keep going back to the Carroll walk. But that was a spot where he's ahead 0-2, ends up walking and putting the go-ahead run on base, and it came back to bite him. Ron Marinaccio running into all that trouble in the bottom of the 8th inning that, allowed this to go from a 1-run deficit to a 5-run deficit. So it got out of hand. And again, just some mistakes late in the game, and we certainly have not been accustomed to that with the Padres so far this season. So, tough loss, no doubt about it. You would have loved a series sweep in Mexico City, especially again when you were leading 7-1 and Michael King is cruising and it is at the altitude, and you kind of wondered if at some point in this series things would get a little crazy. Again, maybe the Tawa Grand Slam was a little bit Mexico City elevation aided, but other than that, I don't know how much of this today in the late innings really had to do with the fact of where the game was. Padres, had some miscues and the pitching wasn't great in the bullpen with some of these guys. And unfortunately, they lose this game. They will come home 18-9 and certainly off to a very good start, but could have been the team's 19th win of the season. Certainly, I think regardless of location and elevation, anytime you have a 7-1 lead after 6, a 7-2 lead after 7, that's a game you figure you should win. And again, the Diamondbacks end up scoring 11 unanswered runs in this game as they score 1 in the 6th inning, 6 in the 7th inning, 4 in the 8th inning, and they win this game by a final score of 12-7. Certainly a lot of bright spots. Manny Machado, 2 home runs. Luis Campusano, what more can you say about him? He had another really, really big day. So a lot of good stuff from this game, including Michael King, I thought looking great, especially early on. I mean, the stuff was just nasty from Michael King. But again, unfortunately, comes in a losing effort as the game gets away, and the Diamondbacks again score 11 unanswered runs to win it 12-7. We'll step aside. When we return, we'll have a full breakdown of this game, all the radio highlights for you. Hear from Craig Stammen in Mexico City in just a little bit. Padres fall on this Sunday at Estadio Alfredo Harpelú in Mexico City. Our postgame coverage continues after this. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Final score here today, the Diamondbacks 12 and the Padres 7. We'll have the radio highlights for you in just a second. We'll go back to Mexico City in a little bit as well. Hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. Military Sunday on the Padres Radio Network is presented by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. If you're looking for a great deal on a new Toyota, head to Toyota.com. We make it easy. Let's recap this one from start to finish.
Which moments determine the outcome of today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game highlights on the Padres Radio Network.
Our starting pitching matchup today, right-hander Ryan Nelson for the D-backs, right-hander Michael King on the mound for the Padres. Both pitchers tossing 1, 2, 3 innings. To begin the day, Padres offense got it going in the top of the second. They put 2 on with 2 out for Luis Campusano.
And Campusano hits a rocket up the left field line. That's a fair ball. Going to bounce and roll all the way to the base of the wall. Bogarts has scored. Sheets going to be held at third. Campusano into second base with another double. This one gives the Padres a 1-0 lead.
Padres still led 1-0 in the top of the third. Nelson issued a 1-out walk to Fernando Tatis Jr. He was on base for Manny Machado.
Swings at the first pitch here. Laces it in the air. Deep to left center field. Way back. Gonna go! Manny Machado, welcome back to Mexico City. And a pair of home runs in one game in 2023. Now a 2-run shot here this afternoon, and the Padre lead extends. It's 3-0.
Meanwhile, Michael King was off to a great start. 7 strikeouts through 3 scoreless innings. He had allowed just 1 single and struck out 8 through 4 scoreless innings. Padres offense got back to work in the top of the 5th. There were 2 on for Manny.
Machado hits it in the air to deep right. Carroll's at the wall, looking up, gonna go! For the second time, Manny, a 2-homer game in Mexico City. This one a 3-run shot, and it's 6-0.
Manny's 44th career multi-home run game, the second most among all active players. So the Padres were cruising. D-backs got on the board in the bottom of the 5th inning against King. Jose Fernandez hit a solo home run to make it 6-1, but San Diego responded in the top of the 6th. D-backs reliever Kevin Ginkel on the mound. He faced Luis Campusano.
Here's Campusano. First pitch swinging in the air to right center field. That'll chase Thomas back into the gap. Looking up. This one gonna go. Luis Campusano with his 3rd of the year. Solo shot here in the 6th inning. And the Padres get that run right back. It's 7-1.
So a 7-1 Padre lead. King would give up another solo home run, this time to Ildemaro Vargas in the bottom of the 6th. That made it 7-2. King was done after 6 innings. He gave up 2 runs, 3 hits. 2 of those hits were solo home runs, and he struck out 8, but he very much left in line for the win. Padres still led 7-2 going to the bottom half of the 7th inning. David Morgan came on. D-backs rallied. 3 straight singles for Arizona to load the bases. That brought up the number 9 batter, Tim Tawa.
And Tawa hits it in the air down the left field line. Laureano to the corner. This one gonna go. Snuck it right over the left field wall. And a grand slam for Tim Tawa. This is a 1-run game in the bottom of the 7th inning. A line drive that got just over the fence, and it's 7-6.
Padres then went to righty Bradley Rodriguez. Ildemaro Vargas hit a double to put the tying run in scoring position. Rodriguez got the 2nd out of the inning, but he then walked Corbin Carroll after getting ahead of Carroll 0-2. That put the tying and go-ahead runs on base for Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
Here in this inning. First pitch swinging, ground ball to third. Oh, a fair ball beyond Machado's dive. That will at least tie the game. Laureano goes to get it. Carroll's on his way. Laureano's throw to Machado. The relay home, not in time. And Arizona goes ahead. 2-run score on Gurriel's 3rd hit of the year. And for the first time today, the Diamondbacks have a lead. It's 8-7.
A really rough bottom half of the seventh inning. Arizona scoring 6 runs on 6 hits to take an 8-7 lead. Padres then had a chance to tie it in the 8th inning against Diamondbacks righty Juan Murillo, a runner in scoring position with 2 outs, but Jake Cronenworth grounded out to end the inning, tying run stranded on third base. The Padres still trailed by 1. We went to the bottom of the 8th inning. Ron Marinaccio came on, trying to keep it a 1-run deficit. He allowed 3 straight singles to start the frame. With 1 out, the bases were still loaded for Ildemaro Vargas.
Marinaccio at the ready. Here's the payoff pitch. Vargas swings, bounces it towards first, overshoots a fair ball down the line. Fernandez has scored. Arenado is on his way. Thomas is behind him. They're all going to score. Vargas on his way to third, sliding in feet first, a bases clearing triple, and it's 11-7.
Diamondbacks weren't done. Ketel Marte hit an RBI single to score Vargas, a 4-run bottom of the 8th inning, and the D-backs had a 12-7 lead. In the 9th inning, Jonathan Loaizaga came on for the D-backs. He would allow a leadoff single to Ramon Laureano, but that was it in this one. Final score, Diamondbacks 12 and the Padres 7. Diamondbacks scoring 11 unanswered runs. Again, the Padres had a 7-1 lead going to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Diamondbacks got 1 in the 6th, 6 runs in the 7th, and 4 more in the 8th. As the D-backs collect 12 runs on 15 hits, Padres get 7 runs on 11 hits. The Padres drop to 18-9. The Diamondbacks improve to 15-12. And these two teams split the Mexico City series at a game apiece. When we come back, we'll go to Estadio Alfredo Harpelú in Mexico City. Hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. Again, the final today, Diamondbacks 12 and the Padres 7. We're back after this. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score today, Diamondbacks 12 and the Padres 7 as the Padres drop to 18-9 on the season. D-backs improved to 15-12. These two teams splitting this two-game series in Mexico City. Padres now come on home for the start of a homestand against the Cubs and White Sox Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Games against the Cubs, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the Sox. Padres back home tomorrow at 6:40 p.m. Again, Diamondbacks sort of flipped the script on the Padres today. We've talked so much about how good the Padres have been late in games, but today the Diamondbacks, they were the team and the offense in particular that put on a show late in this game. Padres had a 7-1 lead going to the bottom half of the sixth inning, and the Diamondbacks scoring 1 in the sixth inning to make it 7-2, 6 in the seventh inning to make it 8-7 Arizona, and then they got 4 insurance runs in the eighth inning to make it a 12-7 game as the Padres bullpen certainly struggled in the late innings. David Morgan giving up 4 runs on 4 hits, including a grand slam, getting just 1 out in the seventh inning. Bradley Rodriguez had one of his toughest outings of the season, 2/3 of an inning for Bradley today. 2 runs on 2 hits given up. Ron Marinaccio had a tough go of it in the eighth inning. He gave up 4 runs on 5 hits and got just 1 out in that eighth inning. So a tough day for the Padres bullpen. Offensively, plenty of bright spots. Manny Machado, a multi-home run game, had a 2-run home run in the third, a 3-run home run in the fifth inning. So 5 RBIs today for Manny. Luis Camposano had another good game, 2 hits, including a home run. And again, Michael King was really good today at the elevation in Mexico City. Gave up a couple of solo home runs, but that was it. Through 6 really strong innings and left in line for the win. But the Diamondbacks came storming back in the late innings as they win it 12-7. With all that in mind, let's go back to Estadio Alfredo Harp Helú in Mexico City and hear some post-game reaction.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
That was a different kind of loss for you guys. You've done that to a lot of people. How did you see the seventh and then just the final inning, how it unraveled?
Yeah, we just couldn't quite get out of those 2 big innings that they had, the 7th and the 8th. A lot of ground balls that found holes, a lot of bouncing balls on an infield that's pretty hard. We just couldn't get it done with our pen today.
What did you see from the play at second base there?
Hold on.
Sí, había una dificultad ahí en el séptimo y el octavo. Había oportunidades de sacarlos de out, pero no tuvimos la ventaja allá y entonces había algunas pelotas, algunas rolitas que se estaba saltando un poco más, ya que estamos en un diferente ambiente y un diferente terreno, así que no lo pudimos hacer esta noche.
What did you see at the play at second base there in the 7th?
Where Jake and Tanner ran into each other, yeah. It looked like a ball that could have potentially been a double play ball. I think it probably wouldn't have ended up being one, but it's kind of hitting that no man's land with the shift, and they just didn't communicate on who was going to get it. I think they were both trying to make a play, and unfortunately they ran into each other and we couldn't get it out there. Proved to be a big out in that inning. Maybe would have kept the lead if we'd have got that out, but hindsight's 20/20 on that.
Sí, en la jugada en segunda base con Cronenworth y Bogaerts, cuando se chocaron allí, sí, parecía que los dos iban para la misma pelota y, quizás no se comunicaron allí, entonces, no pudieron hacer la jugada. Ya, claro, se veía que esa jugada, en verdad, se podía decir que nos costó ahí unas carreras o más, podía sacarlo de out ahí. Uno nunca sabe si hubiera sido doble play allí, pero, sí parecía que como era parte de por qué hicieron las tantas carreras en esa entrada.
Go to AJ, back left corner.
Craig, how do you evaluate your relievers in that 7th inning, given some of the circumstances you mentioned and the altitude? I mean, what do you make of kind of the way that unfolded and I guess their performances, the pitches they made?
Move on and go to the next one.
Sobre las cosas de los relevistas acá en la altitud y en esa séptima entrada, solo hay que seguir después de este juego y ya salir de esta manera de acá.
The next one being back at sea level, but can you just reflect on your time here, your weekend here, and just what everything meant?
Yeah, an amazing atmosphere, a fun city to visit for the first time, first-class hospitality, and a ton of Padres fans.
De la hospitalidad acá en la Ciudad de México era muy bonito. Era una gran experiencia para tomarlo por primera vez acá y todo de primera clase acá.
Come down in the front row in the middle.
Hi. Would you like to come back to play to Mexico?
Yeah, I would love to. I wish I was still playing.
More games, maybe?
Sí, nos gustaría regresar. Y yo también quisiera estar jugando.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin.
Craig, I know you don't want to ever give one away, but you guys have done this to a lot of teams. It's a long season. Does this feel like one just they even out sometimes, or how do you look at this?
You never want to give away a game where you have a 5-run lead or a 6-run lead at one point. But circumstances are different here in this ballpark. 6-run lead, a 5-run lead, those aren't really leads here. Anything can happen, and something did happen today. We've been on the good end of this so far. We get a taste of what it feels like on the other end.
Sí, uno nunca quiere dar la ventaja a otro equipo en esa circunstancia cuando uno está ganando por 6 carreras algún momento en ese partido, pero ya es diferentes circunstancias cuando uno llega acá a este estadio. Uno que está ganando por 5 o 6 carreras no es que se puede a reemplazar y decir, oye, ya lo tenemos en la bolsa, sino que es que tenemos que seguir compitiendo y bueno, tenemos que hacerlo de nuevo así cuando regresamos y llegamos un día.
Go to Dennis standing up on the right side.
Craig, have you gotten a chance to meet or talk to the new incoming owners of the team? And if so, what are your early impressions?
I have not, and I cannot comment on the sale of the team.
No he podido conocer al nuevo dueño y no puedo comentar sobre el nuevo dueño.
Go to the front row on the left side.
Okay, in Spanish. Exactamente cuáles son las circunstancias diferentes que mencionas de jugar en este estadio a jugar allá. ¿Te refieres más a la elevación o al terreno de juego?
What's the difference that you mentioned beforehand of playing here in Mexico City? Is it more of the elevation or is it more of the turf and the grass that's kind of a difference here?
Yeah, I think all of it together. The elevation definitely affects pitch shape. And then when the ball's put on the ground, it's bouncing a little bit differently than what it does, when we play Petco Park.
Okay. Sí, yo creo que la diferencia es cómo se da vuelta la pelota acá cuando se lanza la pelota. Y también es que como es grama sintética, entonces la pelota salta más que en otros lugares.
Entonces, es una lástima que el trabajo de Michael King de alguna forma se echó a perder porque él nunca había pichado en México y se supo ajustar de una manera perfecta. De hecho, solo fueron 2 picheos, 2 lanzamientos que fueron los 2 home runs, pero fue un dominio absoluto.
Yeah, can you just talk about Michael King? He was able to make a good adjustment here when there were only 2 pitches that may have gone a different way, but can you just talk about how he was able to adjust the elevation here?
Right, Michael King pitched great today. 2 solo home runs, pitched amazing, kept the ball down. His breaking balls were working really well, spotting his 2-seamer up, and he just competed out there. And that's what you have to do in this environment. You have to compete, really well and try to put up zeros, and he did a great job of that today.
Sí, hizo un gran trabajo hoy, muchas rolitas, no dejaron que hicieran mucho contacto con sus pelotas también, sus lanzamientos, y entonces él hizo un buen trabajo para hacer todo lo que pudo hacer en las circunstancias que él estaba.
Thanks.
Come back to Kevin.
I think there was some thought that Manny been swinging better. What did you see from him the last couple of days, and in particular today, and how encouraging is that?
Yeah, very encouraging. Barreling the baseball, looking like the Manny Machado we've seen for a long time. And honestly, it was just a matter of time. And I think we all can see, who he is and what he can be. And we're excited about that going forward.
Sí, hemos visto cómo ha hecho Manny Machado estos últimos juegos. ha podido dar la oportunidad a tocar la pelota así con el barril y con buen contacto. Entonces ya casi sabemos cómo puede hacer Manny Machado en los partidos y ya viene por seguir.
And last one's for Craig. We'll take one more in the second row on the left.
Yeah, for Craig, how would you describe not having available the ABS system for this series? And, well, what's the value you give to that system?
I think we just went back to playing baseball like we've always played it for a really long time. And tomorrow we'll go back to playing ABS. So it's just a different, strike zone or way they're calling the strike zone. But I think we've adjusted to it already this season. So it'll, just like riding a bike.
Hablando del sistema de ABS, es como jugar béisbol así como era antes. Y ya mañana jugamos como si estamos jugando con el sistema de ABS. Entonces, solo, es la diferencia allí y ya mañana seguimos como estamos jugando normalmente.
Well, Craig, thanks to you and your team for everything here in Mexico the last few days.
All right, that was Craig Stammen alongside Jorge Merlos of Padres Media Relations, providing the Spanish translation there as well. Heard a lot there from Craig. I actually thought it was a really good question there at the end, talking about playing without ABS. I don't know about you, those of you out there listening, watching these two games in Mexico City. It was almost a little weird to experience a game without it now that we've seen it for a month, and you're looking at some of these calls and being like, man, that probably would have been challenged and overturned, and that would have been challenged and overturned. So look, I don't think it was a huge deal or necessarily swung either of these games either way, but it was interesting to not have it. And of course, when the Padres return to Petco Park tomorrow, they will have the ABS challenge system once again. But it was interesting to, I guess, play quote unquote old school baseball without the ABS challenge system in Mexico City. And again, that was Craig Stammen from Mexico City. Padres fall 12-7 to the Diamondbacks today. We'll come back. We'll talk more about today's game. Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard a little bit later as well. We'll get you ready for tomorrow's series opener against the Cubs in downtown San Diego. More to do on our post-game coverage after these words. Back here in our post-game coverage here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Welcome back into our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show. Hey, player, the rooftop pool's open. Day passes are available, and the spa is calling your name. Jamul Casino Resort. The Players' Place. Padres fall by a final score of 12-7 in Mexico City this afternoon. Padres will return home for the start of a homestand beginning tomorrow against the Chicago Cubs. Let's tell you about today's relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher entered the game and slammed the door shut? This is today's relief pitcher of the game, brought to you by San Diego criminal defense attorney David P. Shapiro. We help good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime. Learn more at davidpshapirolaw.com.
Relief pitcher of the game today. I think we're going to have to go on the Diamondbacks side of things. It's a little tough to, give you a Padres bullpen arm today for relief pitcher of the game when there were, how many? There were 10 runs scored against the Padres bullpen today. Wandy Peralta, who got the final 2 outs in the 8th inning. He was the only guy that did not have at least 2 runs charged against him out of the Padres bullpen today. I actually think on the Diamondback side of things, you have 2 options. And look, you got to give the D-backs bullpen credit today. Kevin Ginkel gives up a run in an inning of work. And then you have Thompson, Murillo, and Loizaga finish the game with 3 scoreless innings. But Ginkel, Thompson, and Murillo, I think in particular, those guys are pitching either with the Diamondbacks trailing, or in Murillo's case, he was pitching with the Diamondbacks up by 1 and got out of a situation where the Padres had the tying run on third base and they could not find a way to get him in. Got out of that jam, did the right-hander Murillo. But I'll tell you what, and I said this in the opening segment, I think sort of an under-the-radar part of this game because of how it ended in the final few innings today was the 7th inning. The Padres are up 7-2 at that point in the top of the 7th inning. And it certainly seemed like they were primed to score more because Fernando Tatis Jr. begins the 7th inning with a single. Jackson Merrill follows it with a single of his own. Tatis then gets picked off second base by Ryan Thompson, the Diamondbacks pitcher. Merrill heads up base running, gets the second, and then after that, Manny grounds out. Bogarts flies out, and it went from 2 on, nobody out, middle of the order due up, to it being, an empty inning. So that was a big deal, and I really think when you look back at this game, Ryan Thompson picking off Tatis and ultimately getting out of that inning with it a 5-run deficit. At the time, it didn't seem like a huge misstep, a huge miscue, a huge missed opportunity. But you kind of look back and you kind of wonder, if he had scored another run or 2 there, could have made all the difference in this game, right? Who knows how it ultimately plays out from a Diamondback standpoint in their inning. So, that ended up being a big missed opportunity. And the fact that Ryan Thompson got out of that inning after having 2 on, nobody out, and kept it at a 5-run deficit, guess what? It was the precursor to the Diamondbacks scoring 6 runs in the bottom half of the 7th inning to take an 8-7 lead. So I say all that to say I'm going to give relief pitcher of the game today to Ryan Thompson. That was a very, very big deal for the Diamondbacks when you look back at this one. The fact that he was able to get out of that inning, 2 on, nobody out, and keep the D-backs deficit at 5. So good job. Credit where credit's due by the Diamondbacks bullpen in this game. Let's tell you about today's heart of the order.
Let's take the pulse of the Padres and check in on the Heart of the Order, presented by Palomar Health, the official healthcare provider of 97.3 The Fan. Palomar Health, leading with heart for every patient. Palomar Health is reimagining healthcare.
Part of the order here today, we look at Merrill, Manny, and Bogarts, the 3-4-5 hitters. Jackson had a pretty good day, had 2 hits in this game, including a run scored. Machado obviously had a big day, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. And Xander 1 for 4 with a run scored. So all in all, 3-4-5 spots today, 5 hits, 4 runs scored, 2 home runs, and 5 RBIs. So look, productive day, certainly for Manny. Had the 2 home runs in this game, and that's a look at the heart of the Padres order. Fernando Tatis Jr. in the 2 spot did have a base hit in this game, did walk, did score a couple of runs. You know, the one thing, and I think it's just kind of the the big thing right now with Fernando is he is just not slugging right now, and it didn't happen in Colorado, nor did it happen in Mexico City. I mean, Fernando now 27 games in. We're a month into the season. He's still searching for that first home run, and he's only got 4 extra base hits on the year. I mean, you would really like to see Fernando start getting the ball in the air a little bit more and start slugging a little bit more. I just feel like this team is going to need it eventually. I know that the start has been great. Even after today, you're 18-9. You came into today, best record in baseball. All these things are true, but it would be really nice to see Fernando start getting the ball over the fence and towards the fence. And, again, 4 extra base hits, 27 games in. I looked at that earlier today. I was like, wow, you expect him from a slug perspective to kind of be in a different realm than that. So look, Fernando's hitting 250. He has been productive at times. Today, a good example, was on a handful of times, had a single, had a walk, had a couple of runs scored. Certainly impacts the game with his defense every single day. We always see that. But even, you were, put it this way, I think you kind of hoped in Colorado or Mexico City he would get one out, even if it was altitude aided. I would imagine for Fernando, seeing one go out over the fence will be a good thing and hopefully lead to the floodgates sort of opening in the power department for Fernando. But he unfortunately did not hit one in Colorado nor Mexico City. So we'll see if the first home run for Fernando comes on this homestand. It will come at some point. And aside from that, Sheets today 1 for 4 with an infield single. I should mention as well, while we talk about the offense, Luis Campusano continues to just play great. I mean, you want to talk about early storylines of this 2026 Padres team. What Luis Campusano continues to do is such an enormous one. 2 more hits today, a home run, an RBI double, 2 RBIs total. He just continues to hit. I mean, when he's in there right now, he is hitting. It doesn't matter against who. It doesn't matter where. So Luis continues to be a great story. Another tough day for Jake Cronenworth. He was 0 for 4. His batting average is down to 155 on the year. So a little bit of an up and down day for the Padres offense as they fall 12-7. When we come back, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have our play of the game, wrap things up, get you ready for the series opener at Petco Park tomorrow. Padres fall to the D-backs today in Mexico City. Our post-game coverage continues after this. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score today, Diamondbacks 12 and the Padres 7. Padres on their way home. They will begin a 6-game homestand against the Cubs and White Sox, an all-Chicago homestand coming up this week at Petco Park. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Right now, let's give you a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Sunday.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have one game going on right now. The Royals and the Angels in Kansas City. Angels lead the Royals in KC in the 8th inning, 7-5. Everything else has gone final. Red Sox beat the Orioles today 5-3. The first managerial win for new Red Sox interim manager Chad Tracy. If you missed it last night and today, Red Sox firing Alex Cora, longtime World Series winning manager, after yesterday's game in Baltimore, along with a number of members of his coaching staff as well. So a new era for the Red Sox. And Chad Tracy, yes, former major leaguer, he picks up his first win as manager for the Red Sox today. Braves dealt the Phillies another loss, 6-2. Atlanta wins it today. Phillies are now 9-19. They have lost 11 of 12 games. Blue Jays beat the Guardians 4-2 in Toronto. Tigers beat the Reds 8-3 in Cincinnati. Rays beat the Twins 4-2 in Tampa Bay. Doubleheader today in New York. The Rockies and the Mets. The Rockies won game 1 3-1. They won game 2 3-0. The Rockies sweep the New York Mets. The Mets are now 9-19. How about that? The Mets and Phillies, 9-19, both teams. Two teams that are supposed to be good, 9-19. Remember, the Mets lost 12 in a row earlier this month. Not getting much better. Got swept by the Rockies today. Other finals. Astros beat the Yankees 7-4 in Houston. Brewers beat the Pirates 5-0 in Milwaukee. Nationals beat the White Sox 2-1 in Chicago in 10 innings. Mariners beat the Cardinals 3-2 in St. Louis. The A's over the Rangers in Arlington 2-1. Giants 6, Marlins 3. The final in San Francisco today. And finally, Dodgers blanked the Cubs 6-0 in LA. And the Cubs will now come down to Petco Park. And that's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Sunday. Final score in Mexico City today, Diamondbacks 12 and the Padres 7. Padres had a 7-1 lead in this ball game. The Diamondbacks then made it 7-6 on the Tim Tawa grand slam, and then they would have the tying and go-ahead runs on base later in that 7th inning, and it set the stage, unfortunately, for today's play of the game.
One bounce, one hit, one pitch can be the difference between victory and defeat. What was the most important play in today's game? This is today's play of the game. Presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating and Air, Restoration and Flood. We know how.
Here in this inning. First pitch swinging, ground ball to third. Oh, a fair ball beyond Machado's dive. That will at least tie the game. Laureano goes to get it. Carroll's on his way. Laureano's throw to Machado. The relay home, not in time. And Arizona goes ahead. 2-run score on Gurriel's third hit of the year. And for the first time today, the Diamondbacks have a lead. It's 8-7.
Lourdes Gurriel Jr., the go-ahead 2-run double in the 7th inning. That capped that 6-run 7th inning for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they would not look back. They scored 4 more runs in the 8th inning to make it 12-7, and they go on to win by that final score. So unfortunately, that is our play of the game today, but definitely had to be that way with the way that 7th inning transpired. Again, Arizona scoring 11 unanswered runs against the Padres to storm back and win it on this Sunday in Mexico City. Well, not a whole lot of time for the Padres to dwell on this one because they're on their way back to Petco Park right now. They will take on the Chicago Cubs at Petco Park tomorrow in game 1 of a 3-game series. 3 games against the Cubs till Wednesday, then a day off Thursday. Then the White Sox come to town Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So a little taste of both Chicago teams during this week at Petco Park. Maybe we'll get some deep dish pizza delivered to the ballpark or something to celebrate, maybe. Now I'll eat the pizza at the ballpark. What do they got? They got Pizza Port. They got the gelati and piccati. I was going to say biscotti. Gelati and piccati. That's it, Kyle? I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Gelati and piccati. So no, you know what? Why would I have deep dish? Why would we? What a crazy idea by me. Welcoming in the opposition pizza. No, I'll enjoy the pizza here in San Diego at Petco Park. Thank you very much. I take it all back. Anyway, first pitch tomorrow at 6:40 p.m. Our pregame coverage will begin at 5:40. Pitching matchup tomorrow in that series opener, left-hander Matthew Boyd on the mound for the Cubs, right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. As always, if you missed any portion of our post-game coverage, you can go back and listen to all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast, available on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcasts. You can also go back on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel and watch any portion of our post-game coverage in video form there as well. A look at the final totals today for the Padres: 7 runs, 11 hits, no errors. They left on 6. For the Diamondbacks, 12 runs, 15 hits, 1 error. They left on 5. Winning pitcher today, Ryan Thompson, who improves to 2-0. Losing pitcher, Bradley Rodriguez, who drops to 0-1. Time of game today, 3 hours and 3 minutes. And the crowd at Estadio Alfredo Harpelú in Mexico City is part of Major League Baseball's Mexico City Series, 19,671. Once again, first pitch tomorrow at 6:40. Our pregame coverage from inside the Western Metal Building at Petco Park begins at 5:40. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Kyle Ovenshire, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long from inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score today, the Arizona Diamondbacks 12 and the San Diego Padres 7. We'll talk to you tomorrow from Petco Park on the Padres Radio Network. Have a great rest of your Sunday.